Hello, it is Monday, the 17th of October 2022. I'm going to talk about some more LaserDiscs that I recently bought. Yeah, at this point, you're probably realizing that this is just a pretext for me to just waffle on about movies. The story behind these LaserDiscs is I arranged to buy them from a local seller who I made contact with online, and yeah, we negotiated a price, and she said, when can you come and pick them up? And I said, well, I can come today. And she said, oh well, I'm going to a concert, but I'll text you my address. I'll leave the laser discs in a bag by the front door, and just you can just pick them up, and you can put the money under a rock. There was like a rock there. So I was like, okay. So I drove to the suburb. I'm wandering around this complex with all these sort of units. I'm looking for the right address, and there it was. It was the bag of laser discs, and there was the rock. I put the money under the rock, and I just felt really, really self-conscious. I just felt really, really awkward. If people saw me and wondered what I was doing, this strange guy sort of walking around, sort of looking for an address, and then grabbing a bag of stuff and then shoving money under a rock. I felt like they would have thought I was involved in, some sort of shady drug deal or something. I honestly thought maybe someone's going to call the police on me, but it didn't happen. But anyway, these are the movies that I got that time. So here we go. Okay, so yep, this is Lolita, the 1962 Stanley Kubrick film. This is I think it's a 1991 American Laserdisc from MGM UA, and it's a really good release. It's a sort of a double disc like gatefold thing. So I'll just see if I can. Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, so yep, the Stanley Kubrick film adaptation of the celebrated / infamous Vladimir Nabokov novel. At the time, the film was sort of taken to be, it was greeted as sort of a bit of a disappointment because it diverged quite a bit from the novel. It wasn't going to be, I guess, as explicit as the novel, because it had to conform to the Hollywood production codes of the time. And in fact, Stanley Kubrick later said that had he known at the outset, all the changes he would have to make, he probably would have made the film to begin with. The screenplay, it's officially credited to Nabokov, but it was actually extensively rewritten by Kubrick and producer James B. Harris. It's a pretty great film. Time has been very kind to it. Like a lot of Kubrick films, like the appreciation has grown for it over the years, and these days it's genuinely regarded not so much as a compromised version of the book, but as a genuinely good film in its own right. It's a pretty great film, and it's got a really good cast. James Mason. I am all in on James Mason. He is absolutely one of my favorite actors. Sue Lyon plays Lolita. She's good in this. She's playing 12, but she was 14 at the time. She was 15 by the time the movie was released. She's really good in this. Unfortunately, she didn't really have many notable roles after this. Shelley Winters is in this. She's always good. I really like Shelley Winters. And Peter Sellers is in this, and he's really, really good. He's really funny as the character Quilty. This was the first time that Sellers and Kubrick had worked together. They did Dr. Strangelove. Obviously, that was a couple of years after this, and so this is a pretty great movie, and it's just a really good, a really good looking release. It maintains retains rather the original poster artwork. So yep. Yep. Yep, here we go. Cabaret, the 1972 movie, directed by Bob Fosse, the second of 5 feature films that Bob Fosse directed, starring Liza Minnelli and Joel Grey. They both won Academy Awards for their performance in this movie, and Michael York is in this. This is a pretty great film. This is a CBS Fox release from 1990. I think it's 1990. Yeah. So this is a really good film. Fosse. It didn't win Best Picture in 1972. The Godfather won that year, but Fosse did win Best Director for this, which in hindsight has sort of been is a bit of a controversial decision. Coppola not winning Best Director, but I think the fact that Coppola won Best Director for The Godfather Part Two a couple of years afterwards, it sort of takes the sting away. Fosse won. This was a pretty big year for him. He won Best Director. He won an Oscar for Best Director for Cabaret. He won a Tony for directing Pippin on stage, and he won a Best Director for a Tony, and he won a Best Director Emmy for directing Liza Minnelli in the TV concert film Liza with a Z. So he won an Oscar, a Tony, and an Emmy all in the same year, which is a big deal. And it was a mixed blessing. He sort of hit a bit of a peak there, and then afterwards it was like, how could he top that? And by throwing himself into even more, taking on even more projects, and trying to top what he'd done before. And if you've seen the mini series from a couple of years ago, Fosse Verdon, with Sam Rockwell as Fosse and Michelle Williams as Gwen Verdon, you can sort of see what the effect that it had on him professionally and physically and mentally this period. So all of Fosse's films really are sort of about the dark, seamy underbelly beneath the glamour of show business. None more so than his very last movie, 1983's Star 80. And Cabaret's like that as well, and it's also got all this stuff to do with the creeping rise of fascism, which is a depressingly relevant topic still. But the whole thing, the Weimar Republic, the sort of the nightlife of Berlin between the world wars, it's captured really, really well. And well, interestingly, this is something that I find pretty cool, is that talking about Stanley Kubrick and Bob Fosse. Kubrick and Bob Fosse were they were great mutual admirers of each other. Stanley Kubrick said that Cabaret was a perfect film, and he actually cast Marissa Berenson, who's in Cabaret. Kubrick cast her as the female lead in Barry Lyndon in 1975, and Kubrick gets mentioned in Fosse's All That Jazz in 1979, and Kubrick actually really liked All That Jazz. He was quoted. There is a biography of Kubrick where he regarded All That Jazz as as one of the greatest movies he'd ever seen, and Fosse became obsessed with Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. I've read a biography of Fosse that said he was like obsessively just watching The Shining over and over again. I don't know if Fosse and Kubrick ever actually met. Kubrick moved to England in the 60s and sort of stayed there afterwards. He was rather famously, he didn't like to travel, and Fosse was making movies, like he started making movies by the end of the 60s and sort of all throughout the 70s. I don't know if they met, it would have been, I guess, if Fosse had ever traveled to England. I'm not sure if he did. I don't know if the two men ever met. I hope they did. Fosse died in 1987, and then Kubrick died in 1999. But it's really good that these guys dug each other's work. So yeah. Oh, there was a 50th anniversary screening of Cabaret this year. Unfortunately, I didn't go. I wasn't paying attention to what was going on, and I didn't know it was on until after it had come and gone. So yeah, maybe some other time. The Shawshank Redemption, which is an obscure film that no one's really, not many people have seen, and no one really talks about. I kid. So this is the Shawshank Redemption, pretty popular movie. The 1994 Frank Darabont film, the adaptation of the Stephen King novella. So this is I think this LaserDisc is from 1990. I think it's 1996, I think. So this is it's another American. They're all American releases, these editions. So this is a pretty great movie. I mean, there are some people that sort of think it's very sort of manipulative and and such. I don't have time for this. This movie works for me. I'm all in on praise for this movie. It's a really good movie, and interestingly, the very first time I saw this movie, it was in 1997 or 98. It might have been 98. I had to watch it in school. Actually, I went to a Catholic high school, and we had to watch this in religion class. It took up a couple of periods. I'm not entirely sure why. It's not it's not an explicitly religious film, but I guess just because of the themes it deals with, faith and hope, and perseverance through adversity, that sort of stuff. I guess they figured, this is a good it's kind of apropos, and and also if you're a teacher, it's a pretty good way to avoid having to teach kids anything for a few lessons. You just stick a movie on. I know I've pulled the same trick myself back when I had when I was teaching a long time ago. So yeah, this is a good release. Yeah. So that's it for this time. Because I'm nothing if not predictable. I'm sure I'll grab some more movies and talk about them. Whether or not anyone's actually paying attention to it, I don't know. But yeah. So until next time, yeah. I should have put them back the order I took them out in. Oh well, who cares?